Hello students, today we shall be taking up the explanation of the poem A Roadside Stand by the American poet Robert Frost. Robert Frost has been admired for his depictions of the rural life of New England and his realistic verse portraying ordinary people in everyday situations. In this poem, A Roadside Stand, he accentuates the fact that the economic well-being of a country depends on a balanced development of the villages and the cities. He also highlights the plight of the deprived villagers who are aching for some money to lead a prosperous life. The poet is also very critical of the way the city folks treat these villagers who are selling their locally produced goods and whizzing past them without a sense of empathy. The little old house was out with the little new shed. So this is how our poem begins. Now we should know that the occupants of this little old house, they have extended the shed in front around the edge of the road where traffic passes by. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. Now there is an alliteration as well as personification. As we told you in the beginning that the roadside stand has been personified. So the poet says, a roadside stand that too pathetically pled, it would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. So here the poet wants to say that the roadside stand seems to be pleading, though it would not be fair to say that the shack owners pleaded for the charity of bread. In fact, they seemed to implore the passers-by to stop and buy something from there. But for some of the money, the cash whose flow supports. So basically, they seem to implore the passers-by to stop and buy something from the shack. These deprived people long for the feel of the currency, the circulation of which flourishes the city folks. The flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. Let us understand this particular line. The flower of cities is a metaphor which stands for growth and development. The poet feels that unless supported by these haves who could buy their produce, there refers to the roadside stand owners, and facilitate the circulation of money among these poor people, their growth and development cannot take place. So that is why the phrases sinking and withering come into being. The polished traffic, another poetic device which is transferred epithet. The word polished has not been used for the traffic but for the polished cars in which they are coming. The haves of the city, the affluent section of the society. The polished traffic passed with a mind ahead. With a mind ahead means that they have a destination to keep. They have a goal, okay? They have a set destination in their mind. Or if ever a side moment. Now here the poet says either they are just moving ahead with their destination in mind, or if ever they stop for a moment, then they get irritated. Why do they get irritated? At having the landscape marred with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong offered for sale wild berries in wooden quarts. So even if they stop for a minute or for a moment, they get irritated because the landscape has been spoiled by the artless paint and toppled up signboards. So generally these roadside stand owners sell the local fruits, vegetables and local produce basically. So here the poet says that they are selling wild berries in wooden quarts. Quarts refers to containers or crook. So this is how they are, placed over there. Wild berries in wooden quarts, crook-necked golden squash with silver warts. And then he also says that the place where they have established their roadside stands, this particular place offers a blissful stay in the lap of nature for the ones who have money. And then in the next line he says, you have the money. You refers to the affluent section of the society. You have the money, but if you want to be mean means selfish, why keep your money and go along? And then he says, you want to keep your money with yourself. You don't want to spend it. Why keep your money this crossly and go along? And then in the next line he says, the hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint. My refers to the poet. The poet doesn't want to, his complaint is not that the scenery has been marred. No. So he says that my concern is not about the blemish on the landscape, but regarding the unvented sorrow of the shed owners, so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. So this trusting sorrow is that they feel, they refers to the roadside stand owners, that they feel sad when their trust is broken by city dwellers through their indifferent attitude. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand. So we have come here to, with our roadside stands, so that we are able to alleviate our lifestyle. We are able to alleviate our sufferings and have a better lifestyle, and give us the life of the moving pictures promise. Now, moving pictures promise is again an important phrase. It basically refers to, in this, what is a moving pictures promise? Expressing the viewpoint of these people, the poet voices their ardent desire to handle some city money, which may perhaps alleviate their sufferings and better their lifestyle, as sometimes, which is promised in the movies that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. However, the political party in power actually deprives them of a prosperous life. And this last line over here is a satire on the system and the intentions of the party that is in power. They prevent them from flourishing. Now see what has happened. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. Pitiful kin refer to poor village folk again. So in these lines, basically the poet says that he listens to the news that these poor village folks would be drawn out of their property. And their stands, what would happen to them? Their stands would be removed and they will be shifted to their villages. Their land would be bought for the commercial development, and then they won't have to think of their sustenance. Now again, that is quite not possible, because how is it that they won't have to think for themselves? Ultimately, a person is indeed responsible for himself, isn't it? While greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. Very interesting lines. So let us first take up the oxymorons here. Greedy good doers and beneficent beasts of prey. These two are oxymorons. So those who call themselves the benefactors to mankind are actually the beasts of prey in the garb of benefactors. All right. And greedy good doers. This is alliteration as well as an oxymoron. So these people swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits. So when these people show them these incentives, these benefits to these simple village folk, what happens? So these people start trusting them, and they feel comforted to an extent that they fail to see their greedy intentions. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. So now this is again very important, and please go through the explanation highlighted in yellow, that what is happening in this whole thing. The greedy good doers, they pretend they are very helpful. So what do? They make false promises. They teach innocent people to sleep over their problems, and they show all these hopes which are all false. And in reality, what have they done? They have snatched their peaceful moments. They give them false hopes and short-term sense of security, which eventually is of no good to them. They befool them by making them love their land and thus depriving them of a peaceful sleep. So this pattern, children, is equated with the ancient times when people used to work during the day and sleep at night. Now that whole thing has been reversed because people can't sleep as they haven't worked during the day. Their work has been taken away from them, right? So everything has destroyed. What has happened? Destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. So the ancient way refers to the good old days when they used to work and then feel tired, exhausted, and sleep at night. So the roadside stand owners have been rehabilitated to some place in the village with promises of an increase in earnings and a better life. However, these people are exploited and they end up living a life much worse than they lived at their roadside stand. No, no, no. Of all the 1,000 cars, selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. And one did stop, but only to plough up grass, and using the yard to back and turn around. So the poet says that yes, one car did stop, but why did it stop? It just wanted to reverse. And another to ask the way where it was bound. And the other car that stopped, they wanted to ask about some place that they were heading to, and another to ask could they sell it a gallon of gas if we were selling some gas, petrol, diesel here. They couldn't, they had none, didn't it see? So the poet gets really irritated here and he says that how come they could not see that we are not selling any gas here? Very beautifully in the last few lines, the poet has summed up this whole problem when he says no in country money, the country scale of gain. This particular expression refers to the financial resources in the countryside. The country folk, being dependent on farming, cannot hope for free flowing money. So what spirit is lacking in the countryside? So according to the poet, the spirit that is required to be progressive and affluent is not to be found in the countryside. And then this is what he says, or so the voice of the country seems to explain. So the country folk seem to complain of the backwardness of the countryside. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. So there will be a lot of interpretations of these particular lines. However, how can you remove somebody's pain at one stroke? Yes, the first thought that comes to anyone's mind is through their perhaps death. So is the poet talking of mass killing here? Perhaps. And then next day, as I come back into the scene, but when he gains his sanity the next day, he says, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. So the poet experiences insufferable pain at the plight of the rural people. You know, when he says, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. So why is the poet in pain? Because he feels for his fellow countrymen. You know, when we talk of Vasudev Kutumbakam philosophy, so here when Robert Frost talks of offer to put me gently out of my pain, when he says why is he in pain? Because his fellow countrymen are in pain. So here the poet experiences insufferable pain at the plight of the rural people, and therefore he feels deep concern for them and wants that some serious steps must be taken to reduce their pain. The day he learns of the relief work, it would gently pull him out of his pain and suffering. All right, so before coming on to the conclusion, let us quickly talk of a few poetic devices. I hope I have covered all the poetic devices in my explanation itself. There is a lot of assonance, that is the repetition of the vowel sound across words within the lines of the poem, creating internal rhymes. So the prominent sound of the vowel O is there when he says, but for the sum of the money, the cash whose flow supports. And then prominent sound of the vowel I in the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. And then there is also a prominent sound of vowel I in the line, and give us the life of the moving pictures promise. All right. Alliteration has again been used in pathetically pled, greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, etc. Transferred epithet also has been used in the phrases polished traffic and selfish cars. There are various words which have been repeated, so repetition is also followed. Personification, yes, personification is there, and anaphora also was marked in the lines, and oxymoron. Finally, the poem highlights the stark reality of class difference between the city's rich and the rural poor and calls for deepest sympathy and concern for the latter. The poet brings out the wide disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and the poem seems to suggest that the economic well-being of a country depends only on a balanced development of the villages and the cities. Thank you, children. I hope the explanation was done well. Thank you once again.